Okay, let's get started. We are doing the first, maybe only, who knows, but I'm going to be toying with this idea in between some of the tutorials. But this is the Logic Pro evening show where we're going to be doing some news, hopefully some Q&A, and some other general fun. And so let's dive right in. I made a list of some of the things that I want to talk about on the show. And of course, we have a bunch of other things we're going to do, but um, I think I'll start by looking at some of the updates for the channel, what we're going to be doing on the channel in the near future. Some of you may be watching some of the alchemy videos I'm making. It's I think a smaller video count on some of those, but it's worth doing. And I think that over time, those videos would be great resources for people. So the first update would be that the next live stream with the Alchemy plugin is going to be next week. We're going to do that Monday, right in the middle of the day. After the stream tonight, taking the rest of the week off from making any content that I'll be sharing on the channel. And so don't look for that until next week. I did put up a couple videos recently. One of them went up today, and that was a spotlight on one of my students at the university named Hayden. We've had a little bit of watching go through on that, but he's a great student, really promising engineer, doing some amazing things. And we did this as part of this other project we did at the university, so I posted it up. Also, recently we did a forcing, the way to force a failed plugin to load in Logic, if it's possible. If it will work if you force it is a different issue, but there is a way to force those. And a few weeks ago we did a freeze the drummer track to make sure that the performance stays consistent. So we did a few videos and then a bunch of live streams. I think the other videos we did before that were all about 10.7.5. So a few different things if you're interested in. Of course, there's a ton of content from the last few years on the channel. I will say one thing I'm really enjoying with the channel right now, I got a Stream Deck. I don't know if any of you have seen this. Stream Deck is really cool. Not a sponsor or anything, not affiliated, but it's like a little series of buttons, and I've been using it with the streams, and I found out that you can actually do MIDI control with it, which means you can trigger things with that. In Logic, you could do quite a bit with this capability of having this hardware thing. You could attach it to live loops or just other functions in the software. I'm going to be messing around with that some more. For the moment, we're just going to be doing things with the stream. So for instance, I can switch to a second camera if I need to and actually move around and look at the software. I can actually stand up and walk around Logic now. Go back to the sitting mode. And then we can also do stupid things like adding a laugh track. And, whenever we say something super important about Reaper, every time we talk about Reaper, we can just get, yeah, exactly. It's like, let's get the audience involved with this because that's what Reaper deserves, It's just every time we do that. Okay, cool. So, in addition to that, it feels like I've done a lot with the actual content for the live streams. We're going to be increasing the production value and making these even a little bit more shiny and spiffy. But I hope that these streams are useful for people who are watching them. So that's the first part. Next part, I was going through, this is the segment where we're going to talk about other people's stuff. But I was looking at musicradar.com, and they have all of their polls going right now. And so I thought I would just show you what their this one poll that they have, the awards for best in 2022. And this is the MIDI controller or sequencer category. So I loaded all of these up. I thought it was kind of interesting. There's a couple of Kai keyboards. Of course, I use the MPK Mini, but I don't have the Mark III. Um, but it looks interesting. I mean, they've done some good things with these particular instruments. And what I want, if you're watching this, in the actual comments, tell me which of these that you would vote for. Because at the end of this, after we go through all of these, I'm going to vote for one, put my vote in there. But these don't, it doesn't mean too much. Certainly there's a wide price range, but these are all just ones that they're saying, released in 2022. Another Akai, the MPK Mini Plus, 37 key MIDI controller, which I'm not in the market for. I mean, I like the one that I have that's the 25 key. This adds a little bit more, still portable, cool. We're looking at a difference in price between $99 right now and $169. Awesome. The next one was looks like the Mini Lab 3 from Arturia. And I've owned one of the Arturia keyboards in the past and hated it. It broke like instantly. So I'll never buy another Arturia piece of hardware. In the comments, you can tell me if that's a different experience than you've had. But certainly that's the experience I've had. This is one I hadn't heard of. Well, I mean, yes, I have seen these, but I have never used them. The Zhu Play. It's where you have this one unit and then you can change with this little like rubber type material. You put it on top and your whole thing changes. So then you can play in a different way. So it's like one instrument, but many instruments. If you've used it, let me know in the comments, but it's a little bit pricier, $245, but still not horrible. And if videos, I mean, I haven't looked at any review videos, but I'd be interested to know. Let me get my mic fixed, sorry. I'd be interested to know how usable it really is in a professional setting. Next would be the Novation FL Key 37 for $200. The Novations seem cool. Okay. They've been around. They've been a player for a while. And then another Novation, the FL Key Mini 25 controller for FL Studio specifically. And you can see that the buttons are really how that ties in. Okay, $109, not a bad price, but I'm not using FL Studio. The Novation, let's see. Did I skip one here? The launch key. Okay, so that is the same one. So let's close that. The Novation Launch Key 88, MK3, 88 key keyboard controller. It has little sliders and buttons and all kinds of stuff, but I'm not. I mean, $399. I don't know how. They're only semi-weighted keys. If you're going to buy an 88 note keyboard, I'd hope you'd get like fully weighted hammer action, but cool. And then we have one of the stranger things on the list, which is the Oddball, the first ball in the world to make music. I mean, that can't be true. Maybe the first widely released one, but they have an app that goes with it, and it's like a little MIDI controller. It looks like $99. You can get it in 4 different colors. Cool. I'd love to know if anyone's using that. And then the Seaboard Rise 2 from Rollei, which I will never buy either, even though it looks cool, but they just have had issues, and they have other things like $1,399 costs. So I don't think I'm going to be going for the Seaboard Rise anytime soon, even though it certainly looks interesting. Jamal in the chat says, I've always had a soft spot for Akai stuff. Me too. I think I've used so much Akai stuff over the years. I know that you can't really judge a company right this moment by what they've done in the past, but certainly a really interesting company. So we don't have a ton of people watching right this exact second. I know that that's going to come and go over the course of this stream, but if you are here or watching this later, put your vote in the chat for which one you think is the best new MIDI controller or sequencer of 2022. I'm not sure why they're calling it sequencer, because these are really apparently all MIDI controllers. But maybe something like the Oddball might have some sequencing capabilities, but I don't think any of the rest of them really do. I don't know. I'm voting for the JouPlay Pro option. I feel like they've had non-pro options before this, but it's the pro option that's probably new this year. So I'm going to vote for that. Cool. Thank you for voting. Return to poll. Let's get rid of that. So Music Radar is a place I do check out some of my news. I also go to other places as well. There's a few others that I definitely kind of scour around for all the news I get. Pretty cool. Okay. And don't forget, you can always use Google News and type in search terms and have it aggregate news for you. So, I mean, that's really maybe for me the more likely way that I'm going to find stuff. It has a range of things, and so it keeps track of what you view and tries to find more things like that for you. It's a kind of a cool option. And free. Cool. So that I thought was interesting. We're going to see a lot more of those as the year wraps up. The other thing that I've been tracking, of course, would be the Black Friday sales that are happening. For any of you watching outside the United States, you probably are still aware of these because they're everywhere. But it's because that's the day of the year where apparently the shopping gets real. And then we have Cyber Monday coming up. But it's a time when often we find good deals on software and hardware and various things. And so I think that it's kind of a good time to be looking for things. I'm trying to see right now if any of the Korg apps on iOS or iPadOS are on sale. It looks like they are right now. So for instance, the ARP Odyssey app, which is normally like $30, is $14.99. So even apps and things are going to be on sale right this moment. I'm not sure which of them are. I haven't done a full search on them, but it looks like quite a few of them are at their cheaper price right now. So if you have an iPad and are using apps and things, this is a great time to be looking to get deals. Don't do it at other times when they're going to be way more expensive, needlessly expensive considering what they are. But it's a great time to look. And then it seems like everybody's doing sales on things, except for Apple with Logic. I mean, I think that's already a pretty low price. They're not really discounting it. And they don't have a lot of other cheaper add-ons and things. They just kind of all in one. Yuri, hi, how are you? I'm good. Okay, so let's jump in to well, we're going to be doing Q&A throughout all of this. So there's a few of you watching. If you have any questions and want anything specific to be demonstrated, talked about, or anything at all, let me know in the chat and we'll go off on any tangent. Your Shure SM57 burst open and exploded when I was recording. This is not supposed to happen. What do I do? I mean, the same thing that happens when any piece of equipment breaks. You either replace it or if it's fixable, you can have somebody fix it. Was it just in normal use it burst open, because that doesn't sound like any SM57 I've ever used. Those things are nearly destructible. Um, if it's just like the top came off or something when you dropped it, just listen to it and see how it sounds. I mean, it doesn't have to look pretty to still sound okay. So, yay for FM or SM57s. Those things are going to be around long after humans are gone. That's for sure. Okay, so next part of this, I mean, so in terms of news and things, really the stuff that we're talking about right now would be end of the year kind of things, things that uh, like the Black Friday sales and things. So I was hoping if we had more people on here that anyone could share the deals that they're finding. I find it hard to do Black Friday software deals just because usually everything seems to be like a year. That's how long it lasts. So that means what you're doing is committing from right now to be paying for all that stuff a year from now. So that's kind of the deal. And I just totally sneezed. We're going to sneeze on live streams. That's the best way to do it. Woo! Can't edit that one out. But one thing I was interested in, I'm going to do a search for this right now. iPad, Mac OS. I had talked about this a little bit the other day. I don't know. Let's see, October 20th, maybe one of the last things that we've seen on this. But I did want to show it a little bit. So this is off Apple Insider. And what they're saying is the M2 iPad Pro could get macOS in a future update. And Apple's rumored to be testing this macOS for the M2 iPad Pro. And everyone says 2023, of course, so nothing right immediately. But it says there have been constant calls for Apple to port not just Final Cut Pro, but a full version of Mac OS to the iPad. Constant calls, I don't know. Yeah, probably. I think even for Logic users, I see that comment probably more than anything. But this is the actual, so if you haven't seen this rumor, check it out. Let's see if I click on this, if it takes me to a photo of it. According to my source, this is a Twitter post. According to their source, Apple will be testing a smaller version of macOS exclusively for the new iPad Pro M2. Mendocino should be the code name for macOS 14 simplified version, with some tweaks. So difference in sizes of things, but I mean, they're actually saying, that there's a little thing here that shows an image, but that doesn't tell us much. So we'll see. And then Yuri, I'm back to you for a second. I was recording a sample pack involving sounds of raging gas. Okay. You're funny. I'm not going to answer your question, but that's funny. You're a funny person. And then Jamal, yes, total game changer if that's actually true. So we'll see. We'll totally see if it happens. And I'm down. I would invest in an iPad Pro M2, even though I have an M1 at that point. So we'll see. I don't know. It's hard to say what's real and just people trying to get you to click on their articles. So you never know. Yuri, I believe you that you're serious. There's no way in the world that I'm not going to make fun of the incident. I mean, that's definitely something that's worth making fun of, I think. And I do that with all the respect in the world. Jathan Sparks Music, glad to be here. Does this version offer a hand tool to move and relocate the timeline? What specifically are you asking? You're talking about the 10.7.5? And you are maybe some more information, Jathan. What specifically are you talking about on the timeline? They didn't add any hand tools in the new version. So if you're looking for something that's new, there wasn't something new that was added that's like that. I mean, however, we do have other tools. Let's see. So, yeah, I mean, we have other tools that allow you to move things in the timeline. So I would say like the grabber tool in Pro Tools is similar to the pointer tool in Logic. Um, yeah, I would say that those two are probably the most similar between those two programs. So if you want to be more specific what you're looking for, then let me know. But in terms of, I would need more information exactly what you're looking for with that specific tool question. Okay, so let's move on. I'm working on, this is an update on some of my personal projects that I played over the last few months on the channel. I've been working on this song. Let me just play the first couple seconds of it for you.
You turned around to see me there. I turned around to see the things I never had. I feel the changes everywhere in the air. You feel the change, it looks so sad. It looks so sad. Time is the warrior, on the battlefield of life. You bring them to their shaking knees. We find our common ground in the trenches too. You bring me joy and to my knees. And now I know that this is real, that this is real enough for me. But is this real enough for you?
So it goes on. I'm really happy. I think I'm almost done. The last thing I want to do is figure out if I need to re-record the primary vocal part. I can hear some small artifacts in the processing I did. I don't remember them being there quite as prominent in earlier versions, so I don't know if I've just gotten a little overzealous with some of this stuff and I just need to re-record it. When you get into the later parts of it, I think that it certainly settles in quite a bit. So maybe just like re-recording the first 3 lines or something. But if I can make it match to the rest, that would be the trick. So, and definitely Jamal Pink Floyd-ish, Alan Parson-ish. I met Alan Parson once. He came to the university and did like a master class with our students, which was really cool. Okay, so Jathan, you were saying, okay, so rather than scrolling in place, can I manually scroll with the pointer tool? Again, I think, so you're talking about just like scrolling back and forth like that. And even if I go up and if I make them bigger, up and down, is that, you're talking about scrolling like that? I'm not 100% sure. So scrolling like that is my super mouse, the magic mouse. Just like that, but, okay, so I'm waiting for the next part after the but there. And thanks. I think the mix is coming together nicely. This song just kind of jumped out at me like earlier this year. It's taken me kind of a long time to finish it, mostly because I've been working on other stuff. It's a good exercise in Logic default kit for the most part. There's a few plugins that are not default Logic. In this case, I'll show you the instruments. I've got the keys, just the electric piano with an EQ. And then this acoustic guitar MIDI instrument with a compressor and a channel EQ. So this is just a sampled instrument. And then my favorite bass of all the basses, the Liverpool bass. Except this one, I definitely have some major compression to make that sustain hold out. Without this, it dies away so fast. So I like that I can sustain this out. So it's really at the beginning just those three instruments. That's it. And Jathan, I think it is mostly in the mouse. So I see. There is. Let me think about this for one other second. If there's a different way to do this. Trying to think if there is. There's got to be something else, because if you don't have the mouse, so the trackpad, of course you can do it with, depending on how you set up your multiple fingers. I'm trying to think if there was. Man. I'm trying to. There might be one other thing we can do with this. I can't remember. Here, while I'm talking, I'll look this up in the background, but over on the other screen, we'll do that. Because I use so many other programs, sometimes every once in a while there's a feature that I don't even think about needing or having. And so I don't necessarily think about it in terms of what other ways to do it. And if anybody else is watching, put it in the chat, of course. But I don't. Let's see. Obviously there's key commands you could be using to move around. I think I'm remembering a feature from a different application. Something like in Final Cut or Studio One or even Pro Tools, where you have the global view of everything. I feel like we had that in Logic at one point though, or maybe we do, and I haven't used it in so long that I don't even know. But I'm looking right now just to see. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look that up. I'll look that up. If I find something, I'll definitely make a video about it as well. I've got a list of a couple videos that people have asked for that it's just going to be next week or the week after because of the holiday and here and not wanting to make a bunch of videos. But oh yeah, I don't think we have anything. That would be so nice though. But if you have a dumb mouse, I mean, really, what you're looking at is zooming in and out, or using the scroll bar at the bottom. You could move it back and forth like that. But there's no tool to click on the window and move it. Do you know what I mean? There's no tool that lets you do that. And so it's either the mouse, or it's either using this at the bottom, or it's either using, control surface, or it's either zooming out with the command left arrow, choosing where you want to be and then zooming back in, using key commands to do something like that. Cool. Afut. Hello. There are people I've noticed online who are having crashing problems. I've not had any crashing problems. So could just be your system. I'm going to go back to the song for a couple minutes just because I do, for those of you who are listening, want to hear some feedback from you on how this is sounding. I know we're over YouTube, so it's not like you're hearing the studio version of it, but I do think it's useful to get some feedback. I'm going to play a little bit of this chorus with just the instruments. So one thing that I do with doubled up parts, so I've got this one acoustic part, here, let me just clear all those off. I've got this one acoustic part here, and then I have this second one, the plucks. And I've got this put through the binaural panner in Logic. That's one of the pan options we have. You can right click and switch between stereo pan, balance, and binaural panner. Binaural uses psychoacoustics to help the brain think the sound is coming from more than just in front of you when you're using headphones. And so the only way to make this even really usable is to have motion involved, because there's no head tracking involved with binaural panning. It just moves, and if you just move it around or you just place it behind you, no one ever realizes it's actually behind you because there's no cues to have the listener hear it from there. So I always add some motion in there. If you're on headphones, let me know how this sounds. Does it sound like it's coming from behind you?
is us for the time that we're given. And now I know that this is real enough for me. But is this real enough for you? Close enough to true. And now I know that this is real enough for life. But is this real enough for now?
The other place I'm using the binaural panning is on this one piano, but it's like a, let me play that by itself, solo it out. It has like an arpeggiator, some other effects. It's like a layer. You might not have even have heard that in the mix the first time.
Close enough to true. And now I know that this is enough for life. But is this real enough for now?
Wolf Fleet headed northeast, course 275. That's Wolf Fleet and Creek, Kyle 6.
And in this section, everything's gone except for this one audio sample that I got archive.org, my voice, and this one keyboard part. Except it never feels like it's thin to me, which I like. It's like I feel like that's the sign that I got this just right. It's just one keyboard and all of the rest of it. Right there. I mean, it's just simple chord.
Just past LJ, Wolf Fleet headed northeast, course 275. That's Wolf Fleet and Creek, Kyle 6 exploded. 460. Creek and Plainfield is the shamble. 962, go ahead. This whole neighborhood, Hutchison Road has been wiped out. Houses leveled, wires, poles, and power down. You better send everything you can get over here. Everything we got's rolling, 962. Hamilton County, Elmwood Police Chief. This is a disaster area. There are license ready and we need help. They also have the same problem, Elmwood. We're trying to see what we can do for you. Civil defense. City of Elmwood is requesting all possible assistance that can be rendered.
And now I know that this is real enough for me. But is this real enough?
And then the one thing, it's like right after the bridge, we come back in for the final like chorus repeats and we add the string sounds. And then everything just falls away. So it's like we have one little bit of that, and then things, you can see all the grayed out things. They were all turned on originally, and then I slowly muted them as I decided which ones I wanted to be pulled out. Sometimes I think the most important thing about production is knowing when to mute things.
And now I know that this is real enough for me. But is this real enough for you? Close enough to true. And now I know that this is real enough for life. But is this real enough for now? And now I know that this is real enough for me. But is this real enough for you? Close enough to truth. And now I know that this is real enough.
Slow fade out. So you can see with my automation here, volume automation, the vocals have the most, just getting things in the right place at the right time. The volume on the synth part, it's a combination of filter and volume together. And then that everything else is just like played at the right volume instead of having to automate it. So it's like I triggered it or played it on a keyboard at the volume I wanted it to be, and so that was more important than changing it all later or doing stuff with velocity, since everything's MIDI except for the one sample that plays and then all of the voice. Everything else is just MIDI instruments. Sometimes it's like you got to understand the capability of some of these instruments. The retro bass or the Liverpool bass is a perfect example. Check this part out. Right, here we go. It's like that little fall right there is just the right timing. Right at the beginning and then right there at the end. You'll notice that the velocity is full red, which means it's as high as it goes. That's where that sample triggers. You have to know that about the bass, that if you trigger at the hardest possible sample, I'm playing my keyboard now. That's when that triggers. So you have to like be aware of those little nuances in the instruments, so that way you could add that in there, and it just adds just that little bit of like, wait, I thought this was a MIDI bass. What? It is a MIDI bass, but it like does that thing.
Everything we got's rolling, 962.
Hamilton County, Elmwood Police Group. This is a disaster area. Disaster area. They're a license ready and they need help.
They also have the same problem, Elmwood. We're trying to see what we can do for you. Civil defense.
Oh, that synthesizer is amazing too. And that's just the retro synth. But it's like got a great sounding filter, emulation. It's a great instrument. So if you're looking for like just like that classic subtractive synth sound, that's one of the ones that in Logic is just great to go with. Okay, we've been going for about 43 minutes. There's a couple of you watching still. Any last questions before we pull the plug on our, evening stream? Let me know. I'm assuming that I'm calling this the, the evening. I can't remember what I called it anymore. This is our evening version of the news stream, but we're going to do a daytime version as well, at least daytime where I am. And then we'll go from there. But it's like I want to start integrating some of the stuff where you come see some of the news. Anytime there's an update or some other industry thing that's worth talking about. But a place to come ask questions, but also to see some progress on a project and talk about some tips and tricks like that. Get your creative juices flowing. Jamal, yeah, I mean, Roger Waters is kind of like my hero in many ways. I didn't lift this chord progression from any of their songs, but I certainly think about that aesthetic of what they created in my own life. And Jathan, thanks for liking the track. I'm going to be, as soon as I finish it, I'm going to be putting it out with all my other music on streaming services, but I just need to make sure that I've got it's like I like this song a lot, want it to be just right. So I'm looking for like a holiday release this year and just be done with it and start on the next couple things, or finish the next couple things that I've already started, rather. Anyway, if there's no other questions, we'll pull the plug here. Thanks everybody for another late night watching, and we'll be doing more of these, I think, at a better time. I know, YouTube is great for us creators. It tells us when people want to watch our content. and 9 p.m. Mountain Standard Time and here in Denver is not on the list. But it's sometimes the only time that I can do. And so it's like that's what we sometimes get from, you know, our schedules and busyness, and that's just kind of where we are right now. But this is the last stream before next week, and last content of any kind before next week. So I hope you have a great week, everybody. If you ever have any questions, my contact information is on there. Just put it in the comments. I read every comment that ever gets posted on any video. And so if you ever have something in there, then, you know, that's sometimes a great place to get a hold of me. Sometimes I read them and think I'm never going to reply to that, just because I don't want to talk about SM57s bursting due to spicy Taco Bell, as we faced earlier in the stream. So don't ever use that mic again. It's ruined forever. Okay, see you later, everybody.